Hey, my name's Evan Smith. I race GNCC National Enduros and full gas Sprint Enduros. I'm from Jefferson, Georgia, and right now we're up in North Georgia testing tires with the IRC Moto guys. I race XC2 and GNCCs and Pro 1 National Enduro and Pro 2 and full gas Sprint Enduro series. Race dirt bikes in 3 national series, pretty much a full-time nomad. I load everything I own up in my van and drive all around the country from Oklahoma to New York to Florida, and sometimes we got races back to back, you know, in the States, and might spend a month here or a couple weeks there and just live the van life and love it. So we're kind of on summer break now from GNCC series, and the other series are kind of light as well, so kind of taking, you know, some time to reset and start training hard for the return of the season. And I'll have I guess a 9-week stint starting in a couple of weeks to finish out the year, so just trying to get everything set so I can make a big push and hopefully have some really good finishes. Yeah, so starting to work with IRC this year. It's been pretty exciting. It's not so much of a developed company, or develop may not be the right word, but they don't have a huge presence over here. There's not a lot of guys that run the tires, so I really didn't know much about the company when I started talking to Mark and everybody, and but they've been really great. They've been really helpful. You know, anything I needed, they've stepped up and done what they could, and they're very eager to develop some you know, really good tires in the future. And I think the company's going in a good direction, and hopefully it grows well and becomes one of the big names. Yeah, so we've been here testing the last 2 days. They brought a couple of new tires out, and I was really excited to test them. You know, we test for a reason. Some of them were great, some of them were, you know, not so much. They all had their weaknesses and strengths, but I think we got a lot of good data, and definitely a really good spot to start from, and hopefully develop some stuff that works really well in the future. Tire choice, my favorite front tire is the IX09 from IRC. It works really well in most conditions that I encounter and racing on the East Coast. And on the rear, I like the M5B. It pretty much hooks up everywhere, and it's all around great tire. Yeah, so being on the East Coast, we race all over the coast, and we really encounter about everything from Florida's deep beach sand all the way to Pennsylvania's, you know, rocky and slick and gnarly, and we can have dry spells where it's hard packed and blue groove, and we can also race in the mud. So really any condition you can imagine being thrown at us is.
Is it mainly wet or dry when your race season's in play?
It really differs year to year on, you know, the kind of weather we're having. Like this year, I think probably 90% of our races have been mud races. If not raining during the race, you know, rained a good bit leading up into it. Maybe 2 years ago we had a really dry season, so it's really just weather dependent.
All right, do you run a tubeless or a moose?
I run bib moose setup. I run SRT mooses and front and rear tires. They work really well.
About what PSI or PSI equivalent is it?
I would guess it's somewhere around 12 to 14 PSI. I started the season running the IX07 rear tire. It works really well in loamier conditions, like softer terrain stuff. I actually got second in XC2 on an IX07 tire at the beginning of the GNCC season. I first got my hands on M5B probably late March, early April, as soon as they could get some to me, and pretty much right off the bat, as soon as I put it on, I really liked it, and it was just the best tire that I had ridden for you know, all the conditions that I ride in. I guess my best results, I've had a few national enduro podiums on them. I've won quite a few Sprint Enduros and Pro 2 on it, and I've also made 1 or 2 XC2 podiums on it as well. So it's really, like I said, it works well everywhere. It's my go-to tire. and it really, as soft as it feels, it does last a good amount of time. I'll probably get maybe 10 or 15 hours out of a practice tire. It's very well rounded.
And have you tried any of the Dakota series tires?
Yeah, so I tested with both the IX09 Dakota and the VE33, and I don't really get to race races where I need that soft of a tire very much, but we have a few, like Snowshoe GNCC is super rocky. I ran the VE33 there, and I actually ran it for a couple of tests at the Pennsylvania Rattlesnake National Enduro. So it's definitely my go-to whenever it gets rocky and I need that extra, gummy traction.